So I was just recently interviewed on another channel about my experience with Starlink, and specifically with Starlink roaming, or it's also called portability. My story with Starlink is that I took delivery of my Starlink down here in Quartzsite, Arizona on, I think it was about January 15th, and my my place of service was Pahrump, Nevada. So the first thing that I had to do to activate it when it was delivered is to change my location to down here in Quartzsite. So when I attempted to do that, I found where I was boondocking in the long-term visitor area down here, La Posa South. There wasn't an active cell. So I tried an address in Quartzsite, which is about 2 miles away, and there was an active cell, but it was full. So I started the process of clicking all over that map to try to find the closest active cell that had an available slot I could move my service address to. And after hours of looking, I finally found one 6 miles away as the crow flies. So I fired it up, and the first thing that happened is I got a kind of a warning message that I'm not at my expected location, and service will not be supported anywhere except my designated service address, and it was showing offline. So I kind of thought, well, that's it, it's not going to work. Well, I gave it a few more minutes, and it finally did. After that warning message, it did go online. And my experience was, over the next several weeks, I could get decent download speeds, often over 100 megabytes down, often over 20 up. However, there were constant service interruptions. And by service interruptions, I mean they define them as disconnects 2 seconds or greater. They put on your log, and I was getting 5 to 6 of them per hour, and most of them were a great deal longer than 2 seconds. And there is a part of the app that shows when you have obstructions, things between you and the satellite dish in the sky. And I was showing lots of obstructions, even though there weren't any physical obstructions. I'm in the desert, it was on top of my rig, there were no obstructions. I since found out that when you're away from your service address, those they're kind of, people call them phantom obstructions, but anyway, they're artifacts of trying to get a signal too far away from where you're supposed to be. So I learned to live with it for the next 30 days or 3 weeks or so. Then I got up, I believe it was February 9th or 10th, I can't remember which, but I got up and looked at my statistics for some reason, and it showed last 12 hours, 0. No interruptions at all. And over that day, gleefully, I found that I wasn't having any interruptions at all. I was having flawless service. It was faster. It was, often between 150 and 200 down, between 20 and 40 up, and a ping of, 30 to 40. It was really, really great service. And I did some poking around online, and I found that some people were experiencing a feature called roaming, and you go into, it's kind of a log, it's called debug. You go into it, and it shows you a bunch of technical things about your Starlink service, and there are flags out there, and there's the two of interest were unexpected location. I expected to say true, because I had always gotten that message. And by the way, I stopped getting that message when the service changed to really good. That changed to false. And then there was another flag below, a few lines below that, called roaming, and that was set to true. So that was February 9th or 10th. I think it's March 3rd today, and I've had this flawless service ever since. And since then, I found that certain people, it seems at random, and I'm one of the lucky few, have this feature turned on. And other people have physically moved hundreds of miles and were still able to get this kind of service without having to change the service address on the app. and without having to be necessarily in an active or open cell. So that's really good news. I've heard through the grapevine online that this is random testing, and pretty soon this is going to be available to all users. I don't know that. I'm just guessing. The only facts are that my service prior to February 10th was plagued with outages, and it was unusable for either streaming or video calls. It was usable somewhat for streaming. Since then, it is flawless. There are hardly any service outages. If there's one or two, they're a couple of seconds apiece, and I don't notice them. And it coincides with those flags: unexpected location now being set to false and roaming set to true. Those are the facts as I know them. The rest is conjecture. I don't know that they're testing it. I don't know why I was selected and other people weren't. Hopefully we'll all find out soon. We'll all find out what's going on soon, and my hope is that everyone will have this feature, and it'll be an easier thing for RVers to freely move about and have this great service. I hope you all had a great day today. Take care.